Why did Navalny go back to Russia knowing he might be killed? Love for his country. He felt that rebelling against Putin was something worth giving his life for. He believed what he was fighting for was worth dying for, and he proved it. He was willing to die for the cause he believed in. A lot of people are all talk. He showed that he wasn't. He felt that he wasn't a credible opposition leader otherwise, and that if he wanted to encourage Russians to protest Putin in Russia, he should do the same. How would his followers rise if he was cowering elsewhere? He martyred himself. The same reason why Zelensky stayed in Kyiv. The moment he permanently flees the country, he will be seen as a foreigner and lose a lot of credibility with the people. Putin's argument for a long time was that he and his movement is a creation puppet for the West. If he does flee, it will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Martyrdom is certainly a thing. Because he had brass balls. Because that's what actual patriotism looks like. Risking your own personal safety for the sake of your fellow countrymen and trying to make your home a better place. He knew there were risks, but he stood up for what he believed in and what he thought his country could become. Patriotism means a lot more than just saying, "Thank you for your service," and getting drunk on the 4th of July. I'm convinced he wanted to be a martyr. That's the only thing that makes sense. As soon as he said he was going back to Russia, I knew he would die in custody, and I'm just a lay person. No way he didn't know. He now went from being a man to being an idea. And you can't kill ideas. Honestly, still surprised they killed him. Everyone knows they killed him. That only makes him a martyr now. It would have made more sense to keep him alive and roll him out once in a while to prove you could do whatever to whomever. I think he would have lost influence with the Russian people if he had stayed in Germany. Plus, he was really brave. He went to prison and ultimately died for his beliefs and dreams of a less corrupt Russia. The real answer is that opposing Putin from another country would make him look like a Western puppet, which was Putin's argument about him. Lenin, for example, lived in exile from Russia until the 1917 revolution, and even he was called a German puppet for being against his own government during WW1. So, it's not that he had no choice. It's that Russians today are very nationalistic. Unlike in 1917, when most Russians were tending towards the left and wouldn't immediately distrust someone living elsewhere. When you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. There is no middle ground. Everyone seems to think Navalny was a global hero. I, not from Europe or the US, had barely ever heard of him. If he died as an opposition leader, there are dozens like him across the world, including plenty in my own country. He knew his political power inside Russia would erode if he stayed as an activist abroad. If he stayed abroad, Putin would have won by keeping his biggest competitor outside of the country. If Navalny returned to Russia, there was a slim chance that it would cause more Russians to care about corruption. Perhaps even enough to even remove Putin from office. Navalny didn't want to squander his political power by being afraid of what Putin might do to him. Navalny wanted Putin to be afraid of what might happen if Putin killed Navalny. According to an article by the New York Times, an activist who thrived on agitation, he feared irrelevancy in exile, winning new respect as he continued to lambast the Kremlin from behind bars cost him his life. With prison certain and death likely. Why did Navalny return? https www.nytimes.com/2024/02/17/world/Europe/Why Navalny returned to Russia.html. Schmied equals NYT core Android share. I think he tried to pull up Mandela. It was a gamble. When he arrived, his team also released the movie about Putin's palace and the investigation where they found the killers who poisoned him. I think they believed that the news of his arrest combined with all that would trigger a wave of protests big enough to topple Putin. There were big protests, but not big enough. And since then the government cracked down on the opposition hardcore. Basically every notable figure is now in jail or exile. He was a nationalist who referred to immigrants as cockroaches. Him fleeing would make him one of them. Martyrs are useful to promote a cause. It goes against the logic of self-preservation, but one cannot disregard its effect. Besides, it does not matter who killed him as long as the waters are even a little muddy. The blame would go on Putin. A civil war is in the benefit of a lot of international entities. While one may think having Navalny out benefits Putin, which it does, but a muddy waters benefits international entities more if they can successfully stoke fires of a civil war.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.